welcome to the 39th Windermere Cup. We are so excited to watch some great racing here on the Montlake Cut this morning. So welcome to Lake Washington. Welcome to the Montlake Cut. My name is Steve Todd, Husky alum of 1999. I'm here with Mary Whipple, class of 2002. We are thrilled to have all of you across the world joining us this morning.
So today what we're going to be expected is about 25 teams or 25 races, more than 40 teams represented with clubs, masters, juniors, international races, and collegiate races. More than 88 teams racing down the cut. That leads us to the final two races vying for the Windermere Cup.
And we have a great race course set up for you today. Fantastic condition, as nice as the last few days here in Seattle, but it should be a very exciting set of races. We're going to kick things off here. We have races to start rolling right into them here. This is our first race of the morning. We have the men's masters 30 plus category. Mary, these crews, the masters races, we go 2-minute centers, quick, fire them off as fast as we can. This first race, the Huskies that you might know from years past in some of these boats.
Yeah, when we get that shot again of lane number 1, it is filled with the has-beens alumni. And so quite familiar faces with Sam Dahmer. He is a U.S. Olympian, and he is also obviously a UW alumni, but lane 1 is the closest, or the boat bottom of the screen. So lane 1 is from basically left to right if you're looking down the race course. And if you're looking here, lane 1 is at the bottom, followed by 2, 3, and 4. And you can see barely to the right of the screen, teams are already queued up, lined up, because they pull right in between those starting blocks. They pull up, they kind of do a little spin, and then they back into the people laying down, called stake boat holders. And then the aligner is on either the left or right side, telling the stake boat holder to push it forward or push it back to get alignment. The bow of the boat, as the coxswain likes to say, back of the boat, but you know, other boaters say the front. We'll leave it at that. Their job is to fix the point of the coxswain. So right now, lane 1, you can see the second of the left. We call that 2-seat. You're grabbing the oar and just kind of making little
small adjustments. That starting platform has really enabled us to run these races right on time, keep things flowing nice and quick. We've got some great racers here this morning for this men's masters race coming up. We've got the men's masters 30 plus. We're going to run through 4 of these men's masters races, then 4 women's masters races. We have our flag up for that first start, and quick, here we go. We've got our first start underway of the 2025 Windermere Cup. So, some great crews. The has-been alumni there in lane number 1. Lane number 2, Washington Athletic Club. That's the crew that's got some of those Huskies in it. Max Hyde, your 2024 team captain for the Huskies, with Sam Dahmer, a Husky Olympian there in 5. And then we're going over to the lane in the Susanville Rowing Club boat with Riley Milne, Husky Olympian from 2024 in the coxswain seat, and Peter Quinton, also a Husky alum for 2024 Olympic 8. And joined by assistant coach Michael Grady for the Huskies is in the 7 seat. So those 2 crews with some of those Huskies have jumped off the start here ahead of the has-been and Lake Union crew. So first race is underway, 39th Windermere Cup. What great conditions we have.
Yeah, the Washington Athletic Club in lane number 2, they are your clear leaders, almost a full boat length over lane 4, which is right now to the right of your screen. But this is the iconic view of the Windermere Cup. Yachts lining up the race course, 2,000 meters of just pure cheering as the rowers are now coming to that grassy knoll on the left side of the screen, which we love to call Fox Point, which means if you see those big yellow buoys coming up. The first 500 meters is about to be done, so now crews are moving into the second 500 of the race.
Yeah, so 500 meters in, and those two have stretched it out. We got our times coming up there, 124.9 through the 500 for the Washington Athletic Club. So great start for that crew out of lane 2 here. So good close racing between those two out in the lead here. We'll see what we get throughout the morning, though. We expect to see some good close races here later on throughout the Masters racing, and then into those junior eights as well. We got the junior eights, we've got junior quads and junior fours for the junior rowers, the high school age crowd. And then when we hit the college crews, we've got some varsity fours racing, as well as a whole series of collegiate eights. And following it up, finishing up the day, we got the Erickson Cascade Cup and then the Windermere Cup to wrap things up for the morning.
So that was a beautiful shot of lane 2 of Washington Athletic Club. And as those rowers are charging over, those bow pair would be Tyler Lang and Daniel Marconi. They'll be crossing the line first. And bow pair is usually those the two rowers that are furthest away from the coxswain. They are pretty smooth rowers. Their job is to make sure that the set stays level, even though it's everybody else's job. But this is another great shot here of Washington Athletic Club in lane 2, and just in the back of the screen, that is the Has-Been alumni out of lane 1. But they're looking smooth. They are looking in charge. And what we want to see is just all 8 sets of legs just gripping that front end. And as it drives flat, you can just see the boat take off. And they are just in a very relaxed but dominant rhythm.
Yeah, I like what they're doing. And sometimes these crews, they don't have a lot of time practicing together. Some of these are kind of a throw together crew that you might just be kind of picking it up and setting up a lineup in the last week or so, but great effort by them. We'll see if the Team Susanville crew can catch up to them over the second 1,000 meters here. But you can see they're coming across 1,000 meters here into the Montlake Cut. They'll finish up. We hit the Montlake Cut. You've got about 650, 700 meters to go when the cut starts. You'll see the markings for 500 to go before the bridge. Once you hit that bridge, you know you're in the final shift of the race and got to sprint to the finish line. So good racing going on here. A little correction, of course, there by the Has-Been crew in lane number 1.
But that was a great shot of coxswain Eleanor Happ-Rummel out of Washington Athletic Club. She's going to make sure that she's keeping an eye out of lane 4, which Riley Milne, who has plenty of experience coming down the cut as a Husky alum and also an Olympic coxswain, he is just trying to tell that crew out of lane number 4 of Susanville Rowing Club, we still have contact. And that coxswain of Washington Athletic Club, Eleanor Happ-Rummel, is just looking over saying they're not moving. We're coming up almost 400 to go. Once those crews go under the bridge, everyone knows who's been a Husky oarsman or oarswoman. They know that it has about 300 meters to go.
All right, and it does look like they're kind of starting to wind it up a little bit. We'll see what they can do. Can they catch them? It's going to be could end up being kind of a tight race here over those last 100 meters.
And as these crews are coming closer and closer to the finish line, the next race is lining up as well. But already everyone is kind of getting down to the water. The crowd is coming up as they are just starting to begin to see this boat parade, as we like to call it. This spectacle of just race after race coming down. As the crews are now going through the cut, you can see on either side of the wall, a great Husky tradition is to write your class slogan on the cut. So that is all that colorful, purposeful slogans that are spray painted over the night.
All right, and there's the lead boat here. We've got that Washington Athletic Club really strong here through the finish line. Last few hundred meters, you can see a great crowd gathered on the north side and the south side of the Montlake Cut here as we approach that finish line. So over the line now with our first race of the 39th Windermere Cup. Opening day could be a great celebration for that crew from Washington Athletic Club. So a nice win to kick things off in 5:56.8. So solid row by the Washington Athletic Club crew. We're going to head back onto the water up the race course here to catch our heat number 2 here. Heat number 2 coming down the race course. You can see they're already partway into it now. We've got a 3-boat race between Potomac Boat Club from Washington, D.C., Pocock Rowing Center from Seattle, and Sammamish Rowing Association from over in Redmond on Lake Sammamish as well. So these three crews, kind of cool. Potomac hasn't raced out here before. Potomac is one of those older East Coast clubs that's been around for a long time right there in Washington, D.C. on the Potomac. So the Potomac crew, they've got 2 entries here. They've got the entry in the 40 plus and in the 50 plus.
So another great tradition for the rowing community is when teams do travel, they tend to lend and borrow boats. So Potomac Boat Club, they are in lane 1. They are driving straight down the middle of the cup. You can see that they have Sammamish rowing blades, which is very sportsmanlike of the Sammamish Rowing Club, who are sitting in that second position.
All right, so here we go, headed down the race course, looking very strong. Phil Hoyle, Husky alumni, right in the middle of that Potomac crew. Phil's one of the Potomac rowers that kind of encouraged them and led them to come out to race here at the Montlake Cut at opening day. Teammate of mine from 1997 IRA National Championship. And here we go, we got Sammamish there in that second place position with Pocock trailing in third.
So there is lane assignments of lane 1s, 2, and 3, but you know what? When you're that far ahead, as such as the Potomac Boat Club, legally and technically, they can be in any lane as long as they're not inhibiting a progression of their competition. So that coxswain should be closer to the left side of the rowing course, closer to the wall, but you know, they're crossing the line first, well ahead of their second place position, which is going to be Sammamish Rowing Club. And
it's kind of unique here at opening day. The races run on such tight centers, such quick start times that we don't have the chase boats following, so the rowing referees are not there to correct course and make adjustments. They are there at the start line. They're there at the finish line. There are referees observing from the bridge to kind of assess if there is interference throughout the race. But coming now up to the bridge, we were already moving on. Heat 3, we've got the men's Masters 8, the 50 plus category. Going from your left hand or the right hand side of your screen as you're looking, south side of the cut if you're on the water. Lake Washington Rowing Club, Potomac's entry, Corvallis Rowing Club, and Marin Rowing Association from the North Bay coming down in lane number 4 here.
So the LWRC, that is Lake Washington Rowing Club, Men's Masters 8, 50 plus. They are in lane 1 and they are charging down that race course. And it's always a great advantage when you can see your competitors behind you. It's a great call from the coxswain of saying, like, I can't see them, but you can. Push me farther. Let's get some more meters, some more seats.
So it's got just almost a length there. It looks like Marin's there in the second place position there. Marin kind of crowded into the center a little bit more than you may want to. Corvallis just appearing now in the black hull in the 4th place position with Potomac there in 3rd. So here we go. We've got Lake Washington coming across the line there in that lead spot. Marin charging after them in the final 200 meters here. But pretty strong push for Lake Washington coming away with the win here in the men's Masters 50 plus category. Last few strokes for Lake Washington coming over the line. Lake Washington Rowing Club, one of those oldest rowing clubs in the Seattle area. Started up as kind of an opportunity for Husky athletes that were preparing for the Olympics in the 50s and 60s as a place for them to train postgraduate years and get ready for the international competitions. There's Marin, one of the strong Masters rowing programs from California, coming in 2nd, and Potomac in 3rd.
Yeah, you saw a lot of the athletes of the Lake Washington Rowing Club cheer and be very excited, because whenever you can beat a Marin Masters team, it's a great day.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well, because Marin's one of those top teams in Masters racing for sure. So on the course now, you can see, look at this view. We've got them stacked up, Mary. We've got the men's Masters 8, the 60-plus category, those 4 crews, and then we've got our first flight of the women's races part 500 meters in, and then the 40-plus Masters women are lining up, and looks like they are underway. So three races on the race course right now. But that men's Masters 60-plus, we've got Bainbridge Island Rowing Club on the right-hand side, Ancient Mariners Rowing in lane 2, Mount Baker Crew in 3, and Sammamish Rowing Association in lane number 4.
This is why this is the great non-stop action-packed regatta. 2 races on the course. Those men, those 60-plus men, it's those women, the 30-plus women are going to keep them honest because they are now charging. This is the shot now of the Masters 8 women's 30-plus just peeking through, leading us through. And the 60-plus are just coming through to the 1,000-meter mark. If that break in the left-hand side of the yachts, the next time we see that, that is the halfway point. But here comes the men's Masters 60-plus down the cut.
And it looks like Ancient Mariners on the lead here. So the Ancient Mariners crew, a crew that meets very regularly, early morning rows out on Lake Union, established for a long time as just another spot to continue participation in the great sport of rowing. So Ancient Mariners doing a fantastic job here coming up to the finish line. Ancient Mariners, one thing that when we reach some of these later races, Izzy Michelson, who is the coxswain of the women's varsity 8, the Ancient Mariners would like to say that they really helped Coach Yaz Farouk train her up. She coxed with the Ancient Mariners a lot as a junior athlete, and they really they like to take a little credit for the young athlete for the Huskies doing so well in that varsity coxswain seat.
Well, the Ancient Mariners, they know what they like. They are charging. They are keeping ahead of the Sammamish Rowing Club. Ancient Mariners have a couple more strokes to the finish line. Second position is that Sammamish Rowing Association coming up. Just a couple seats of open behind.
All right, so some splash in there from the Ancient Mariners, coming away with an open water win over Sammamish, though. So good race by Sammamish, coming in a solid second-place position over the crews from Bainbridge and Mount Baker. Looks like the Bainbridge crew over the line now.
So now as these crews paddle past the finish line, their job is to get back because here comes the 30-plus women's Masters 8s charging in. They are now coming into the cut, so they have about 600 meters just shy of that as they come into the cut. And in lane number 1 is Pocock Rowing Club. Lane 2 is Lake Union Crew. Lane 3 is Lake Washington Rowing Club. And lane 4 is Mount Baker.
Now I'm trying to spot which crew this is. They're in lane 4.
Those blades look blue and white striped, so it looks like it's Lake Washington Rowing Club is my guess.
Lake Washington Rowing Club. Mount Baker and Lake Washington do have similar blades. Those two look like the Lake Washington colors, though, there. So I think we got Lake Washington, that lane number 3, leading this women's Masters 30-plus category here as they come under the bridge. Look at the great crowd on the Montlake Bridge. We've got a lot of people out here this morning. Thank you all for coming down. Thank you all for tuning in worldwide. I think we probably have some Kiwis watching for later on when we get all of these Kiwi athletes racing both for New Zealand, for the Huskies, and for Indiana. We probably got some out on, is it Sunday? I think they're watching this on Sunday over there in New Zealand.
So here is Lake Washington Rowing Club, your leaders of the 30-plus Women's Masters 8. We got a great shot of their unisuit of the LWRC, the strong blue blades with just the white stripes at the end. They're charging hard, and Pocock Rowing Club, they are out of lane 1. You'll see the chevron of their blade. So that's a unique too. Like you want to see what blade design that helps you identify what team and what club is racing.
Yep.
Here comes Lake Washington Rowing Club in the lead.
So there's Lake Washington on the lead. Open water ahead. We're getting some good wins here by some of these Masters programs. This is the Women's Masters 30-plus open water lead for Lake Washington Rowing Club coming down to those last few strokes. You can see the crowd gathered. You can see the painting we talked about on the race course here. One cool thing the Huskies have done when we look at that finish line, they've got all of the national championships won by the Husky men and women listed on the Montlake Cut for everyone to see. So what a great race there. There's Pocock wrapped up that second place spot. Lake Washington finishing in first.
And here comes our next set of races. This is the Women's Masters 840 plus. So out of lane 1, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, is Sammamish Rowing Association. Lane 2, Lake Union Crew. Lane 3 is Commencement Bay Rowing Club, followed by lane 4, which is College Club. So let's see, 2 of these crews, Lake Union and College Club, row out of Lake Washington here. Sammamish is on Lake Sammamish, and Commencement Bay is just a little bit more south of here.
Yep, all across the whole Pacific Northwest. We've got great programs developing on both the junior and masters level, all the way up from Whatcom County rowing there on Lake Whatcom up north of in Bellingham. We've got clubs now in the San Juan Islands, Vashon Island, Bainbridge as well, all around the Pacific Northwest, all around Puget Sound. Just fantastic rowing programs happening everywhere.
Sammamish is just dominating this race. What a fun group. That rhythm that they were just setting, they were all sitting up tall. They were all just putting their blades in together as they are just commanding. Look at the leg drive. As the legs go down flat, that's what everybody wants to combine, that second half of leg drive, and really sit tall to receive the handle. They just look like they're on a cruise, but these women are full throttle.
Very strong, looking good. Very smooth rowing, like what we're seeing from a lot of these masters programs. These masters are very dedicated to the sport. You see 5 a.m. practices happening for a lot of these crews around the Pacific Northwest. A lot of athletes that are training on their own at home or at the gym as well. So kudos to them for really treating the sport with a high regard.
Well, it's just a testament, too, of just the trickle-up effect or trickle-out effect of all these women are, if they weren't NCAA competitors or on their collegiate high school teams, they just want more of that community. So here is the Lake Union crew just crossing the finish line or just coming up to the finish line. They are now in the middle of your screen as they are finishing up their final strokes. You can see now they've just paddled, but now their job is just to keep moving. And all crews are now, when they're done with your race, then you get to hang out in Portage Bay to join the party.
Very good. And here's the Women's Masters 50 plus now. We've got Green Lake there in lane number 1. And then Sammamish. It looked like Sammamish was the lead crew there. We might be missing a crew here. Oh, here we go. Yep, Sammamish over the line. Or coming through there. We've got Green Lake, Sammamish, Bainbridge, and Willamette. There's the Sammamish crew for you, the women's 50 plus. A little urge on by the coxswain there. You can see them hit the gun a little bit. They want to go for, even though they've got that good open water lead, let's get a little bit more here in that final 250 meters.
What a fun place to be at if you're at the Sammamish Rowing Club. Your 50 plus just dominated their 40 plus just dominated the race. And now here, currently on the course, is the 50 plus group. A lot of women training, and you can kind of just see once you have that competitiveness and like just that community of just holding each other accountable, you can really see that they're producing some speed. Big
win here.
It's what we call curvature, maybe? Curvature of the
showing.
Earth. That is multiple boat lengths of open water.
Yeah, great rowing by Sammamish here to separate out from the field and just keep pushing away. Strong, powerful strokes here. Sammamish over the line, looking great there in the women's 50 plus category. One more final women's race coming up here.
I think they could just keep cruising, put another 1,000 meters on that rhythm. That was very, very dominant. So now it's just a race for second. After Sammamish has crossed the line, now we're going to be coming up to Willamette Rowing Club. That was the shot. That was the red team coming across, but right here is the Bainbridge Island Rowing Club. So Bainbridge is coming across the line second, followed by Willamette Rowing Club, coming in to third place position.
Nice. So here we go. We've got that Women's Masters 60 plus coming up, and then we're going to be moving into those junior races. The juniors are in the middle of their racing season. They're moving towards the end of the racing season. They've got junior regionals coming up here in a couple weeks down at Vancouver Lake, which then those crews will move on to the national championship for junior U.S. Rowing Junior National Championship there in Sarasota, Florida. but we have a great tradition of junior rowing here in the Pacific Northwest. Fantastic crews all across. We've got a shot now looking at this. These are the quads. So these are the sculling boats, the four blade or 2 blades for each sculler, 4 rowers. You got 8 blades grabbing the water. Up ahead of them, approaching the bridge, is that women's Masters 8, the 60+ category. But these are the junior quads in the picture now. We move back. We got that shot of the women's Masters 60+ coming down through the bridge here. One crew's passed under already. And what do you know? We got Sammamish in the lead again. What a day for Sammamish. Looking great. That great club from the east side. They just celebrated their 30th anniversary as a rowing club for Sammamish Rowing. So they've grown from a very small operation 30 years ago to one of the biggest clubs in the Pacific Northwest now. So great race by them.
And they've got great leadership in that boat club as well, with Sarah Loeb just being like the executive director, just driving and just really laying out the groundwork of, if you're coming into this boathouse, this is what we expect. But this is the 60+ out of lane 4 is Martha's Moms that we're watching right now.
And Martha's Moms, another team that's a women's masters team that's been around for a long, long time. Lots of competitors have gone through their team throughout the years. Very competitive masters program that's based on Lake Union.
This is a big win for them of 60+. They're crossing the line out of lane 4. So they did pick off Sammamish.
They did, yeah. I had that wrong. I thought it's a little tough to see, but there's Martha's Moms coming away with the final Masters win of the morning. So one of the things that I heard from a lot of coaches talking to this week is just what a bucket list rowing event to check off for so many of these athletes, whether it's juniors, masters, or the collegiate athletes. It's just such a fantastic time to come out here and get a chance to race at opening day.
Doing the work before the sun rises, then they have to get to work, and then just to have all that work pay off, you know that they are going to be celebrating today.
All right, and here's these junior men's quads, junior boys quads, really good sculling here. Those bright green blades of the Seattle Scullers, really strong entry to the water. Good quickness coming from this Seattle Scullers crew here. We've got the Seattle Scullers, and then up ahead of them, Seattle Prep, one of the a younger team here in the Pacific Northwest, but they've done a great job from Seattle Prep, just coming and being one of the top crews, especially in some of these smaller boats that you see. So there's the Seattle Prep boat out open water ahead of Seattle Scullers. You've got Thunder rowing crew and Vashon Island are training. Thunder is out of the University of British Columbia boathouse there just outside of Vancouver. So there's a good shot of the Thunder team and Vashon as well with the light blue and black unis. But strong send by the win coming for Seattle Prep in 6:30.7. So good strong showing by Seattle Prep Panthers.
And this is a good shot of how after the bridge, the cut opens up, and especially the right-hand side of the cut, it starts to have a dog leg, or it just opens up a little bit to the right, and it have a little diagonal. And all the coxswains know, and they train. As soon as you go under that bridge, you have to get your point or your perspective on the wall of houses far on the opposite side. There's the shot right there of Portage Bay, and you need to pick a point and not get tricked by the wall, because if you follow the wall to the right, you're just adding a couple more meters.
You're adding a little bit more to the race. So here we go. We're back on the race course with the women's junior quads now, the DeWitt Whitman Cup coming through. We've got the 4 boats here for these quads. We've got Holy Names Academy, Vashon Island Rowing Club, Seattle Prep, and Vancouver Rowing Club from Canada coming down to race as well. A lot of these crews for the juniors, they were up last weekend at the Brentwood Regatta up in Mill Bay, British Columbia. Tons of these junior teams racing up there for a 3-day race that happens at Brentwood College. And now we've moved down to a lot of those crews that perform well there. They get the chance now to race at the Windermere Cup. and see how they can do on this epic race course.
So it looks like Vancouver out of lane 4. They are on the left-hand side of your screen. They look like they are a little bit up over lane 3, which is Seattle Prep. So Seattle Prep has contact with the lead boat, which is Vancouver. This is a good shot here. As all 4 women are just united, they are putting both blades in at the same time and really unifying 4 individual pulses into one strong push.
Yeah.
So we'll see if lane 3, keep an eye on Seattle Prep. They have like the best shot of maybe overtaking Vancouver, but here that was a good shot of Holy Names Academy out of lane number 1.
Yeah, and this is shaping up like one of the closest races of the morning here, with just 1 second separating them as they hit that 500-meter to go mark. So we're going to want to follow this one to the end and see if Prep can come back on Vancouver here. They are both pushing away from the other 2 crews there, really walking away from Vashon and Holy Names here.
So Seattle Prep, their only option is to raise the rate and go now. And then Vancouver has to make sure that they're not going to get spooked or they're not going to respond and get a little bit individual. But Vashon is in the background. You can see they are trying to just close the gap with Seattle Prep. And Seattle Prep is cruising, and there's the overlap. Seattle Prep is in the middle, and Vancouver Rowing Club is on the right-hand side of your screen. That is half a boat of overlap, and that is doable.
And it's one of these things where that crew from Vancouver has that advantage, Mary. They're looking back, and they can kind of track what Seattle Prep's doing. Now, one of the things that you just talked about in the last race is just making sure you stay on that exact straight line. We don't want to see Vancouver kind of wandering to the right-hand side. The coxswain's right. We're
right here is where the wall disappears, and this is where you have to stay just to the left.
Yeah, so and then the other thing is the coxswain's not, when you're down in those bow loaders, you don't have quite as good a view as of your competitor. So sometimes important for that bow seat to be communicating exactly what's going on with that opponent.
Both coxswains are just getting a little bit tricked, but you know what they're doing? At least they're doing it at the same time, so it's still a race. Anybody who can just hold off that, if Vancouver Rowing Club can hold off that charge, which they are doing, they cross this line first. They are the winners of the DeWitt Whitman Cup of the junior quad.
All right, so good race there. Seattle Prep pressing them all the way down the race course, just over 2 seconds there was the margin between Vancouver and Seattle Prep. Vashon coming in that 3rd place position. We've got the women's junior 4s now coming up. So 4 athletes, each with just a single or sweep rowing. The junior 4s here now coming up. We've got Bainbridge Island Rowing Club on the right-hand side of the screen. Sammamish Rowing Association next to them. Victoria City Rowing Club from Victoria, British Columbia, and Lakeside on lane number 4 here. So good. Looks like we've got Vic City, strong program for Vic City. They were winners up at the Brentwood Regatta that we talked about. Looking very good out in front. There's a great shot of the Bainbridge Island crew kind of swinging along together as they get into the Montlake Cut here. See what they can do over these final 500 meters. And now we're quick overhead shot. I think that's the boys race, the Sarah Nevin Cup coming. We've got the boys race approaching 1,000 meters here, approaching the 1,000-meter mark for the boys 4. We'll bounce back to the Colin Sykes Cup, the women's junior 4s race. Colin is a assistant coach at Washington, helping with the 4s for both the men and the women, leading to a number of IRA championships and NCAA championships for the 4s for Washington. And a great honor to have a cup named for Colin here for the women's junior 4s.
So yeah, your leaders are Victoria City out of lane 4. That was the times at the 1,500, but now it's the last 500, and we'll see if the margins increase or they maintain. But as those crews are now just charging hard, that's what they, at the 500 to go, there's usually a race strategy of just pressing hard for solid 10 strokes. Then there's this little 200-meter, not waiting period, but if you can own your rhythm and your race, and if you can just get ready for the charging sprint. So this is
Sammamish here. Good shot of them swinging towards the finish line. Strong rhythm from Sammamish here. Good impulse trying to get that matching right keyed in together here. The lead crew out in front. It's hard to tell. I think it is the Vic City crew that is on the lead here. Yep, there's that V, the white V on the green unis of Vic City. They did a great job up at the Brentwood Regatta. If I'm recalling my race results correct, I think they won the Junior 8 for the women at Brentwood this year. Coming across the line, that's Vic City with the lead. Great race by them. Open water, big open water margin there ahead of Sammamish.
So now this is the second place crew crossing the line. And then Lakeside here out of lane number 4 is coming into that third position, followed by lane number 1 from Baybridge.
All right, so we've got the 3 other junior races for you. Here's on the water. We've got the junior men's fours, the Sarah Nevin Cup. We've got Bainbridge Island, Pocock Rowing Center, Lakeside, and Vic City there in lane number 4. So you can see, as we talked about with the blade colors, sometimes equipment is borrowed at some of these races, so it is a little tricky to see some of the out-of-town crews. You're not always 100% sure, but this is Vic City and Pocock Rowing Center. Tight race between those two.
Yeah, so out of lane number 2, so the second from the right, that is Pocock Rowing Center, just charging down to the bottom of the screen. But keep an eye on the left hand of the screen. Well, now it's switched. But so now Victoria City Rowing Club is out at lane number 4. They are on your right side. This is a great shot, though, of the both crews going under the bridge. It is lane number 2, Pocock Rowing Center on the left. Still have a little bit of contact, but they are in control of that first place position.
Yeah, good racing going on here. Pocock, I like what we're seeing. Pocock is a nice, smooth pickup. Some of the junior boats you've seen, not quite as unified as this 4 from Pocock, really pushing well together. I like what you see when you see that unification of both just the leg drive and that swing through the bow here. Pocock doing a nice job racing down these final 250 meters here.
Yeah, that stroke seat is really laying down a commanding drive, and then his teammates are just backing him up. So that is Pocock on the top of the screen. Victoria City just rowing just in that lane number 4. Now Pocock is just slightly pulling away, and Victoria City just can't keep pace. But they are still in second.
Yep, solid second open water lead ahead to third and fourth there for Vic City. But here comes Pocock. Last few strokes of the race here. Charging across the finish line. Pocock, their boathouse is just another 1,000 meters down past Portage Bay, right under the I-5 bridge, right on Lake Union. Britta Coxon's pretty pumped there, a little fist pump. She's pretty excited to come away with a win for the Sarah Nevin Cup, 6:38.05.
Yeah, plan A all the way. Yeah. It worked. And here comes out of lane number 1, Bainbridge Island Rowing Club, crossing the line.
Good shot of Bainbridge there. So great to see so many of these clubs coming out and getting the chance to row here at this fantastic event. And just while we can, just a quick little thank you to Windermere Real Estate for putting on this fantastic rowing event. One of the, we talk about one of the top free events in the Pacific Northwest, and definitely one of the best events in the whole rowing world. We've got a good race on our hands here now with the women's 8s, the Eleanor McIlvaine Cup. We got Brentwood, Green Lake, Rose City, and Inglemore. Pretty good race here in these women's 8s here for the juniors. Yep,
the junior 4s are done, and here comes the 8s.
We've got Sammamish on the lead here. And it looked like Green Lake and Inglemore pretty close together. Inglemore, a pretty young team, has not been around quite as long as Sammamish and Green Lake, but doing very good from up on the north end of the lake in the Kenmore. Their boathouse just off of in Kenmore there.
Yep, so on your right-hand side of the screen is Brentwood College. In that second lane is Green Lake. Third lane, just off the pace, is Rose City Rowing Club, and in lane number 4 is Inglemore. So it's neck and neck for second place between Green Lake and Inglemore, but your leader is out of lane number 1, which is Brentwood College.
Brentwood College. Sorry about that. I just glanced at the blades and then looked down at my sheet and called the boys lane number 1 instead of Brentwood there. The Brentwood B, the big red B on the blades of Brentwood. Looked a little too similar to me for the bright red S on the Sammamish blade, but there's a great shot. Brentwood looking very strong here. Really strong rhythm for Brentwood now. As we talked about the Brentwood Regatta last weekend up there in Mill Bay, and really throwing down a great race here in the Blair Horn. Husky alum there. The boat is named for. Open water ahead, and look, Inglemore got a deck length lead on Green Lake. It's going to be a tight one between Inglemore and Green Lake here for that second place position.
Especially in the next couple of strokes when they take either their middle lift, meaning that they increase that stroke rate. Who's going to be efficient? If you take your stroke rate up, sometimes that does not equal speed. So whoever can really just bend that or more. But it looks like Inglemore is not getting shook out of lane number 4. But Green Lake's going to have to hammer it down to get that second.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're taking the boat with you as you make your move up and your shifts up through the sprint. But here's Brentwood, who's looked like they've put together a great start, great body, and a really strong finish here for Brentwood over the line with an open water win in the McIlvaine Cup. Really good win for Brentwood. And there's Inglemore crossing the line, just over a half a length lead over Green Lake.
Brentwood was looking super horizontal. Those finishes, like if you see the boat kind of bounce up and down, that's not so good. And that boat was running true and smooth.
Yeah, very nice movement there by the crew from Brentwood. And here we go. We got another Brentwood boat on the water. Now we're looking at the last race of the juniors races. Lane number 4, that's Brentwood coming up in the Fred Hohenbein Cup. Looking strong here, Brentwood College with the open water lead. We've got in lane number 1, that's the right-hand side, is Sammamish. Lane number 2, Rose City. Lane 3, Green Lake. And lane 4 is Brentwood.
Is it going to be a back-to-back Brentwood success?
Could be. Taking a couple of trophies home for Brentwood College here. Looking very strong.
The junior women had ownership of their race, and it looks like the junior men are following suit.
Well, it's been a traditional, strong junior program up in Canada for years and years and years under some great leadership. Tony Carr with many years of leading the team for Brentwood. Now Dave Calder, your men's coach and director of rowing here, coaching the boys. Dave's daughter Mira will be rowing in one of the Husky 4s a little later on. And here comes Brentwood, or that's the Sammamish crew. Sorry about that again. The blades tricked me. But Sammamish looking strong. I like the rhythm you're seeing from Sammamish. Just a nice circle around the finish, Mary. When we break down the strokes, you got the front end where you're picking up the weight of the boat, the speed of the boat. Talk a little bit about that finish and the control there.
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want the drive to develop. So you want to keep your shoulders in front of your hips as long as possible because you want to have your glutes, your quads with that big, strong push. And you want to keep your arms straight as long as possible so then when your legs are done, you lean back and then you just follow through with your hands.
Yep, and here's Brentwood. They're tired. They're coming down those last couple hundred meters. Your body is burning. Your legs are tight. You got to stay strong. You got to stay all 8 together. Coxswains are really urging you on, kind of controlling the race, taking you through the finish line. But a great push by Brentwood here to finish up the race. Brentwood over the line here in the last couple strokes. Brentwood with the lead. Nice open water win for them ahead of Sammamish. Sammamish with a good solid second place position.
Yeah, they closed the gap a little bit, and when we had that overhead shot, there's a double bucket, which I always like to see.
And there's the black and red and yellow unis of Rose City Rowing Club, a good team from down in Portland. Thanks for coming up and racing, guys. That was a close finish there between Green Lake and Rose City Rowing Club from Portland. Rose City getting third, though. Brentwood, though, first 5:58. Pretty strong time there. We'll take a quick recap, a quick highlight of the finish there. And there's Rose City, just a deck length of a lead over Green Lake, though. Those two crews pretty close together. One of the closest race we've seen of the morning.
That's going to be fun to have the story unfold for their regional championships coming up soon.
Yeah, we've got 3 Husky crews here against 1 Seattle University boat in our first collegiate race, the men's Open 4. Last year, the Huskies came away with a win in 6:36.3. We'll see what kind of time the Huskies can put down today. But in lane number 1 in the Lou Gellerman, we've got Maggie Gibbons, Connor Shoup, Lucas Woodruff, Billy Osborne, and Galen Hardy in the bow seat of that lane number 1 Husky crew. But the lead crew here is the Husky B boat over in lane number 3, rowing in the Pocock. The Pocock Racing Shell, named after George Pocock, the famous boat builder. Peter Frost is your freshman coxswain there. In lane 3, Crosby Lamont in 4, Henry Arden in 3, Dmitry Chamatov in 2, and Colin Sang in the bow seat. So strong push by those Huskies there in lane number 3. We've got the Husky C entry, Maya Malik, Arden Acton, Kiefer Law, Henry Ramstead, and Addison Smee were the late addition in lane number 4, the Husky C entry. But good to see these 3 Husky crews, Seattle University, the club team from Seattle U, just trailing those guys. But good racing going on here. Out front, we've got that Husky B boat on the lead.
So it's always good and it's always fun to race your teammates because you know that your teammates will not quit. So it holds everybody honest, and it's also just another opportunity to show your coach, hey, look at this lineup, look at this combination, because as everybody is kind of still making those changes up to the last final cup races, every race counts.
Well, and one of the things that both Coach Yaz Farouk and Michael Callahan hold the team to is just a really high level, an extremely high level of accountability. No matter if you are the top guy in the top 8 or you are one of the athletes that's down in the 4th 8 or 5th 8, you have to be on your game every day. When you're a Husky, you've got to be really strong as an athlete, and a great mindset to continue training and pushing so that you can move up. So I think the lanes shifted around a little bit. That was the Husky A boat.
I was like,
there.
That's Maggie Gibbons.
That's the Husky A boat there that we see looking very strong here now as we head through the finish line. So a little bit of lane switch, but not a problem. That's the Huskies looking very good. Maggie Gibbons in the coxswain seat. Got to feel very strong going into the final championship portion of the season for the Huskies.
Super dominant, and this is just where you can what I love is just after the blade is under the water, you just want to see the oar shaft. If you can find just a little bit of a bend, you know that the rowers have transferred their body weight to the face of the blade. And it's just another training session for this crew as they cross the finish line first.
Yeah, nice open water win for the Huskies there over the Husky B boat. So good strong push, 627.3 for the Huskies in that Open 4 event. So just a quick thank you to Windermere again, Seattle Yacht Club, University of Washington for putting this all together. It takes a ton of volunteers and a ton of hard work to get this whole race, this whole weekend really set up. And so just the Seattle Harbor Patrol helping out on the water, controlling the traffic, keeping things so we don't have a crowd of boats headed through the cut. We can get this great racing off. Mason Construction for the installation of the log boom. All of the University of Washington staff, HereAndNow.com for doing the timing of the races. As we said, it just takes a ton of people to execute a great event like this.
So here comes now the Women's Collegiate 4v8. So the 4th varsity 8. Out of lane 1 is Seattle Pacific U. Lane 2 is the University of Washington, and lane 3 is Western Washington.
All right, so just going to go talk about these crews. The Division II teams, Seattle Pacific University and Western, are 2 Division II teams in NCAA rowing. Both teams trying to make it to that Division II NCAA championship later at the end of the month there in Indianapolis. Western is your reigning national championships in the NCAA Division II. 5 of the athletes from the 2024 national championship 4s and 8s are rowing in this Western crew. Washington out there on the front though. Some of the novice athletes for Washington. Kate Fox is your coxswain there, leading this young Husky crew down the race course.
And here is that shot of the 4th varsity 8. The stern pair is Kylie Kuntz and Katarina Stromberg. Those are the two closest to the coxswain, and they are responsible for the rhythm. They are responsible to really set that charging pace for the rest of the team members just to back them up. So you have the stroke seat, who is starboard side, and 7 seat is port side, and they are just, their job is just to set an unrelenting rhythm.
And they've got that great rhythm going. Bethan Evans there from Bothell in your 6 seat, Elisa Ditto in the 5, Astrid Ivy behind her, Ainsley Webadoo in the 3 seat from just down in Yelm here. Amelia Jordan there in the 2 seat, and Sophia de Blasi in the bow seat for the Huskies. There's Western. You got the signature high-vis visors that the Western women have worn throughout their racing history. Quite a proud program up there. Courtney Muller leading the Vikings for her first year as head coach, longtime assistant coach, taking over this year. Taking over the team, but in the same spot as one of the strongest, most dominant Division II teams in women's racing here for the Vikings.
Yep, and you know that Seattle Pacific U in that 3rd position, their job was just to see how close they could get to closing that gap to get that measure going, because both teams are just trying to gather as much information as they lead into that qualification for the NCAA championships. Yeah,
and that Seattle Pacific team, as a team, they're ranked 4th. They're tied for 4th in the NCAA's latest ranking of Division II teams. We've got that women's collegiate 8s on the water now. We've got Washington, PLU, Pacific Lutheran there in lane 2. Lane number 3 is another crew from Western. Lane 4, Gonzaga. So we've got good racing between these crews. There's a good shot of the Washington crew in the lead here.
This is their 3rd varsity 8. Their 3V. Olivia Murdoch is the coxswain. Stern pair is Vicky Trenton and Eliza Perry. Perry is from Bellingham, Washington. The stroke seat is from Australia.
So good, solid rhythm going there. See what they can do against PLU and Western. So Pacific Lutheran, one of the Division III programs in the Northwest here. They've gone out, raced out east a little bit early on in the season. They're the top team in the Pacific region right now. Going to be trying to make it to that NCAA championship as well. A lot of younger athletes in there. Just their senior team captain, Carly Templin, one of their the coach really wanted to point her out of her just being an outstanding leader and helping this team develop. And there's the Huskies over the line. Lane number 1, Olivia Murdoch leading her crew from Washington to the win here. And there's a quick shot of Gonzaga's crew. Gonzaga coming across to race here as well. So Coach Andy Derrick, a Husky alum, kind of sending this crew for Gonzaga. Last race of the season for some of these athletes before the WCC championships. But the crew from Gonzaga coming across the line now. Kind of a end of season reward for some of these athletes from Gonzaga. And what a chance to get to race here like we talked about. There's PLU. You got the black and yellow blades of Pacific Lutheran University, the Lutes, coming across the line. Last few strokes here. So solid effort, great Northwest rowing all around. Division I, Division II, Division III, NCAA women's rowing has grown so much over the past nearly 30 years here since the first NCAA championship. We've got the women's collegiate 3rd varsity 8s on the water now. And then we've got Seattle Pacific University in 1, Seattle U in 2, Washington in lane 3, and Washington in lane 4. So there's a quick shot of Seattle Pacific there. And in lane number 3, Lily Kurtz leading the Huskies there. This is the 4V, Isabel Tinsley, Cora Madison, Kate Russ, Bree Hoffman, Ellen Koselka, Allie Jakeway, Kaylee Verd, and Izzy Peters holding down the bow seat from one of those smaller, newer programs. Whatcom Rowing Association was where she picked up an oar first there. But great shot of the Huskies here as they get under the Montlake Bridge and finish up strong.
So the two crews from Washington, it is their fourth varsity boat right here in the top of the shot, and just at the bottom, it is the second novice boat of the program. So yeah, a little bit of flexing from the varsity members or showing the novices. Some of these are walk-ons. They've just learned to row, and some of them have experience from the novices out of the lane number 4.
So that lane number 4 boat, that second novice boat, Peyton Wold, Kate Elward, Riley Beringer, Mia Cook, Kayla Coates-Robertson, Faith Meyer, Sammy Tyler, Emma Cronin, and Claire Cunningham in the bow for that second place Husky crew. The second novices doing a nice job here for the dogs. So really big kudos to Coach Yaz Farouk and her whole coaching staff. They've done a great job assembling just a fantastic, deep, talented team. Yaz leading them. Gordon Getzinger, as top assistant coach. Allie Lauren, Sam Greenblatt, Brooke Moody, and Maddie Wanamaker. Yaz has an all-star staff there for sure.
So now we're moving on to the collegiate women's 4s. This is the second varsity 4, and we have Indiana visiting, racing the Huskies. So out of lane number 1, so the right-hand side of your screen is the Indiana crew, and then lane 2 is Gonzaga. Lane 3 is Washington, and lane 4 is the other Washington boat. So we've got the 1V and the 2V in this race.
Yeah, so that A boat, or the Huskies 4 in lane number 3 is Mimi Randall, Margaret Young, Scout Wilson, Alex Dessart, and Sophie Sands from Rochester, Washington in the bow seat, swinging it along for the Huskies. And one thing you notice there, as we get a quick shot, you can see the name on the side of this Empire 4 that was just dedicated last night, Colleen Lynch there, one of the first women's varsity coaches for Washington. Mary, we've been celebrating this whole season, 50 years of women's rowing at Washington. You're a huge part of it. Every single athlete of the Washington family on the women's side has been a part of it. What does this 50 years of women's rowing mean for you?
Well, that's a huge question.
Just to throw one at you.
That's a huge question, but obviously it's a huge honor to be a part of such a deep program of knowing what the women before you have done and then just carrying it on or shoving a little farther down the race course, so to speak. But just to be a part of just women who want to come here and do nothing less than their best. And that's the best thing about being a part of this Washington women's tradition.
Well, and it's been going on for so long, for 50 years. So great that the team dedicated the Colleen Lynch. That was the winning boat there in that yellow Empire that was dedicated last night. You'll see our other dedicated boat coming up in one of the other races here. We've got a good shot now of that Indiana boat having a close race with Gonzaga here. Indiana, Molly Boutwell is your coxswain, Olivia Lubin, Ava Olson, Janiah Hackett, and Chelsea Lindar is the bow seat. So pretty close there. Just a deck there separating Gonzaga and Indiana.
That was a good charge from that Gonzaga crew. They were just trying to get seats, but Indiana always had an answer.
All right, and now we got our second flight of women's varsity 4s here, and look at the lead that lane number 3 has. This Husky varsity 4.
They're on fire this season.
They are on fire, undefeated on this season. Great win over California last week. They went down to the Big Ten Invitational and dominated down there as well. The Huskies in that newly dedicated Paula Mitchell, one of the other varsity coach there back when the Huskies first turned varsity for the women here. So there's a great shot of that Husky varsity 4. Really strong. They've been doing awesome all year long. We expect to see more of the same here at the Big Ten Championships coming up in Indianapolis. First year of the Huskies competing in the Big Ten Championships. But here's this varsity 4. Perry McLaughlin's your coxswain there looking out in the bow. Paris Burbine is the stroke seat. Kate Wittard is the 3. Violet Holborough Rosebank is 2, and Mira Calder there in the bow seat. Strong send by this Husky crew.
And their job is to make sure that they're just backing each other up. And Perry McLaughlin, who is just laying down into the bow deck, it's just more aerodynamic. It just makes the boat be faster because the coxswains used to sit up into the stern. But she is just telling the crew how many more meters to the line, how many more strokes to go until we maybe raise the stroke rate, the strokes per minute. The coxswain is in charge of the plan, and the rowers are trained to respond.
Yep, and over the line, there's Washington. Big win for the Dogs here. We'll check that unofficial time. There's Indiana looking strong here through the finish line. Here's Indiana, the Hoosiers. Olivia Mencias is the coxswain. Grace Newton, Allison Niter, Charlotte Rossi, and Yale Kaiser in the bow there for Indiana coming across the line. Solid race by Indiana. Had Seattle U and another Husky crew finishing up that flight. We were back onto the water looking down here. We've got two Husky crews in the picture, a 4-boat race. We've got UCLA, the club team from UCLA coming up. Washington, Western Washington, and another Washington boat as well in lane number 4 here in the men's collegiate freshman eights and third varsity eights. The two Huskies, there we go. From the shot you can see a good shot of the two Washington boats on the lead with, we got UCLA and Western trailing them. So the right-hand side, there's UCLA. Good shot of the club team from UCLA coming up. They wrapped up Weira's last weekend. Be back for the ACRC Club Championships later on this season as well. So we can see these two Husky crews. We've got the Husky 4V, which is the freshmen there, or a lot of the freshmen actually. We've kind of broken apart the freshman 8 into moving some athletes around here. But the Huskies in lane number 2 in the Chuck Holtz, Nikita Jacobs, Rory McDonald, Will Milne, Mark Tennyson, Alex Gonin, Ewan Morrow, Lucas Anderson, Cameron Tasker, and Hector Guillemette in the bow seat there for the Dogs. Nikita there, you can see, is in the right-hand side of the screen. Good push, though. This Husky is in lane number 4, doing a very nice job pressing away. They've almost got open water now in these final few hundred meters.
Yep, that's a good shot of just the stern pair of Devin Godfrey and Colin Ferris. They are out of lane 4 for the Washington Huskies. They have almost open water. Yeah, they definitely have open water over their teammates.
And I think just looking at things, I think the coaches kind of making these two boats a little bit more even lineups and having them really race each other today. Looking good here. The Huskies in lane number 4 are cruising across the finish line for the win.
Oh, that must be the greatest feeling. If you know that they are going to be even lineups and you want to know that our combination, yeah, on paper might look even, but what we can do and what we can combine and how we can go, maximize each other through the race course, that's the difference between even lineups on paper versus one full boat length of open water.
And there's the UCLA crew crossing the line in the Windermere Cup shell, which they've borrowed from Washington. Nice job by the Bruins here to come up and race, beating Western. 3rd place for the Bruins here. And we move in now. We're running up on our final 4 races here, Mary. This is the big ones. Now we've got some coaches' launches following. These are races that are a little more important for the teams. We've got the Cascade Cup, the Dick Erickson Cascade Cups, I should say, honoring former head coach of the Huskies, Dick Erickson. We've got just the 2-boat race here, Washington versus Gonzaga for the Cascade Cup.
Man, talk about a crazy duel. You know, a 2-boat race in the biggest stage of collegiate rowing. Boats lined up next to that boom. You can see at the bottom of this screen, it's literally a log boom where the boats anchor up to them overnight sometimes. And it is just a gauntlet of noise of just cheering down this whole race course.
Yeah, we were talking with some other coaches about what you might expect if you haven't raced here. And one of the questions that an athlete raised was, is there really a possibility of a cannon shot? And there might be a possibility of a cannon shot. You will hear air
right
horns.
around here, that right-hand side.
It can get a little loud. It can get a little rowdy out there, especially during these final two races. But here comes Gonzaga and Washington. The Bulldogs there on the left-hand side of your screen. Huskies on the right. The Huskies very strong. This is a nice push here. Kieran Joyce, Cox in this boat. Ryan Martin, your stroke seat. Klaas Olilas in the 7th seat. Quinn Hall is in the 6th seat. Povi Yuskavicius is the 5 seat there from Lithuania. Ian Burnett, your graduate transfer from Brown, finishing up a master's degree here at Washington. Lyle Donovan, the 3 seat walk-on, strong, tall athlete for Coach Callahan's crew. Marius Alsund in the 2 seat, and Finn Gruskowskis, the tall bow man, swinging along in the shoe dog. Coach Callahan named this boat in honor of Blake Nordstrom, who we lost a couple years back, but Blake was such a key contributor to the Husky rowing program and the Varsity Boat Club. What an honor to race the shoe dog for this Husky second varsity.
And I know a lot of Husky fans are probably rejoicing of 3 seat Lyle Donovan, a walk-on. You always, and that's the tradition of Husky rowing. Can we take walk-ons and make them into great oarsmen and oarswomen? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And 3 seat Lyle Donovan is the answer. 2nd-year walk-on, track athlete. I mean, he has it in his genes.
Yep. Well, he's got it in the genes with a dad who's a Wisco Badger rower, and Lyle, Coach Callahan liked to brag on him a little bit. He's an extremely tall, strong athlete. You love to see it here for Washington.
Yep, so there's a couple lengths of open water, and as the crews are now entering into the cut, you know, it's about 600, 650, wherever you want to start the count. But on the left-hand side of the race course, there's a definite line of 500 to go. And then again, when you hit that bridge, you know it's about 300 to go. And that's the advantage of home court advantage, home cut advantage. All these rowers and coxswains, they know every inch, every foot of the cut.
And we'll see what the Gonzaga, the Bulldogs can put down here, what the Zags can throw together over this final 500 meters. Finn Duggan, a senior walk-on coxswain from Portland, is leading the Zags. Eli Bunn is their junior from Bellingham at the stroke seat. Toby Finn, Matt Jorgensen, a senior walk-on. Hunter Scott, sophomore there in the 5 seat. Brendan Kelly, Jack Surface, Luke Krentel, and Tyler Smith, your bow seat from Lafayette, California for the Bulldogs. So Coach Dan Gaines' program over there, a strong Pacific Northwest team trying to make their way to the IRA National Championships as well. They've had a decent season for the Zags, racing down in San Diego, racing out east as well. So good showing by the Zags, but here come the Huskies looking very strong through the line here. We saw a great race from this Husky 2B last weekend against California, very strong. They're looking to really throw down as they hit these final. After today, they've got 2 races on the year. They've got their conference championship and then headed out to the IRA out in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
And a good shot of the Zags going into their final few strokes, charging to the finish line. But they had quite a job to do on how to hold on to contact and reel in those Husky crew. But the Husky crew is just on fire after like last week's win of Cal. And now they're just charged. It is special teams time.
Yeah, this second varsity for Washington is a very talented group. Coach Callahan, Michael Grady, Nate Goodman, his whole coaching staff, they've done a great job accumulating talent and then really setting it together in a manner that just creates such a great environment for training and competition every single day here for Washington. So there's your times, 5:33.8 for the Huskies, 5:52 for the Zags.
Everyone's looking really relaxed, and you can see too the wind is a little bit of a tail breeze. Maybe that's why it's helping these times be so quick and fluid. But it looks like the coxswains aren't concerned about their points because they're not asking any of their bow seats or their 2 seats to make any adjustments.
We have a
But
start.
ready or not, the officials wanted to get
Here
this
we
party
go.
started.
Get this moving. So that's Seattle U at the top of the screen. Indiana, the Hoosiers next to them. Lane number 3, we've got the Husky second varsity 8, coxed by Grace Murdoch there. And then in the south or the north lane, the lowest part of the screen there, the Husky first novice boat right there. So it does look like that lane 3 boat jumping out on the lead early on here. Indiana,
as they should.
And that Husky novice boat, but pretty tight between those two crews early on.
Yes, the Washington 2V at lane number 3, the second from the bottom, they should be charging and they should be owning this race. Based off of past results, I mean, I know they've seen Indiana at the big race. There was like
the Big Ten Invitational.
The Big Ten, it was enormous.
It was huge. 18 teams racing there.
Mm-hmm. And so there was quite a dominant performance by the Husky 2V. But look at the bottom of the screen, the novices.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see the Husky novices doing well here. Taylor Inoni from Hawaii, your coxswain there, helping out that Husky novice boat. Liv Ormseth is your stroke seat from Vashon Island for the Husky novice crew. Good race by them. Let's see if they can hold off this Indiana 2V here. The Indiana 2V coxed by Rebecca Baker. Lily Hopt is your stroke seat. Rhea Kearns is the 7. Gracie Landridge, Claire Hunsberger, Caroline Schreiber, Kate Madden, Bridget Sutton, and Michaela Messinger in the bow. They're a transfer from Washington in the bow seat of Indiana.
Yeah, so the novices, they're in that purple boat on the right-hand side of your screen. They have the advantage of just holding on to their second varsity 8. The green can on the right is a great marker. We're well into the second 500. The novices, lane 4, are in second position, and they have half a boat length over Indiana's 2V. And the Washington 2V, the coxswain Grace, she's about to say bow deck, bow ball. Those are markers that she tells and communicates to her rowers, and it signifies that we are in charge and we're about to have stern deck overlapping bow deck. Let's get open water.
Yeah, and what a good push for Washington. They're getting that open water lead. I like what you see with that quick connection there. And the one thing we know, we got a lot of those Kiwi fans cheering on the New Zealand athletes here coming up, but we've got 6 New Zealanders here racing for the Huskies and Indiana. Shakira Mirfin, the 2 seat for the Huskies. Madeline Parker in 4 seat, and in the 7 seat, Olivia Hay for the Huskies. Those 3 Kiwi athletes, part of the process, the pathway to New Zealand's rowing success here, and it's been what an opportunity for them to race up here at Washington. Something the Kiwi coaches talked about was when they arrived here, they kind of see everything, and then you kind of understand why some of these Kiwi athletes want to come up and train at the UW.
So this is a great shot of bow seat is Jess Weir, and 2 seat is Shakira, and she is from New Zealand. So that is the 2 athletes in front leading the cruise. I'd always like to call them front wheel drive. Bow 4 is just, they have to follow stern 4, but they're really just making it easier for stern 4. So I really love to give love when I cox boats to say, hey, bow pair, bow 4, front wheel drive, take us to halfway point, which is 1,000 meters, and crews are just about at the 1,000 meters.
All right, and look at that novice boat for the Huskies doing great job here. Open water down to that 2V, but they are just stretching out the lead over Indiana now. Rhea Currens, Gracie Landridge, and Bridget Sutton are your Kiwis there that are freshmen for Indiana. Coach Steve Peterson's team's a pretty young team, but expecting great things. They're a top 16 ranked in the NCAA's latest rankings. They'll be at the Big Ten championships, and then hoping to make that NCAA championship as well for the Hoosiers. There's the Huskies looking very strong as they enter the cut, and the Husky 1V first novice boat as well, crossing into the cut ahead of Indiana now. Looking strong as well, and we see how things shake out over these final 500 meters. You know that Grace is going to be really putting the pedal down to try to get this Husky 2V even more of a lead.
You could just tell the rhythm of this 2V boat. They are just, it's experience. There's a mix of seniors and juniors, and all the above, really.
Yeah.
but you can tell just the difference of just their attitude in the water, their confidence, the strength they have over the novice boat. And here is a good shot of Seattle U for just a hot second, but here is the Huskies. They are coming close to the bridge, and next time we see that shot of the bridge, I want you to see if you can see that or the yellow U and W painted on the Montlake Bridge. U is on the left, obviously,
Well,
and
and
W is on the right.
When we saw that above view of the Huskies, really good matching from this Husky second varsity. Ava Muehlman, your stroke seat from Seattle, has set a great rhythm for the Dogs all season long. Olivia Hay behind her, Emma Waters, Jordan Freer, Madeline Parker, Leah Nash, Shakira Mirfin, and Jess Weir in the bow seat. I think Coach Yaz Farouk has a very strong second varsity. We saw some great race results at that Big Ten Invitational. Fantastic against California last weekend, and looking really strong again here for the Huskies.
So this is a good shot of the novices, but yeah, in that second varsity 8, there are some women who were competed at the NCAA's in the varsity event. So you know the depth and the strength of this team, where they're key players, and they can mix and match. But where people lay right now, or where people sit right now, in terms of their power production, their efficiency to move boats, it's just very telling on how the team is growing and their speed is building.
Yeah, so a nice win by Washington. Here comes Indiana in the red over the line here in the last few strokes here. There's the Husky novice crew. Really strong race for those Huskies there in the Jenny Hogan. And you can see the Indiana Hoosiers over the line as well. Great race. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate seeing that other Big Ten team here racing at opening day and Windermere. And one thing Coach Steve Peterson just raved about what an opportunity it was. What great hospitality from Windermere Real Estate and the University of Washington. What a fantastic opportunity for the women from Indiana to get to race here at opening day at the Windermere Cup. So a strong finish for the Hoosiers. We've got Seattle U in their last few strokes here. Seattle U coming up over the finish line now in that 4th place position. There's your top time. Huskies 2V coming away in 6:18.7.
Who do we have?
We'll take a look at these two crews. So really talented crew from New Zealand. One of the things that this is preparing them for is this is the kind of group that is now working to prepare and enter the New Zealand system for the 2028-2032 Olympic cycles. So pretty exciting for these guys to get a chance to race internationally, and those black blades with the fern on them. We'll see how they can do. I got a start to this Windermere Cup Men's 8, New Zealand versus Washington, one of the strongest rowing nations around, one of the strongest collegiate programs around, going head-to-head for the Windermere Cup.
So the night sprints was a little telling. It's 600 meters in the opposite direction, starting in the cut, leaving the cut, and the Huskies got New Zealand, but that was just 600 meters. This is a very tight race.
This is a close one.
New Zealand
here
has upped their game in this first 500.
Yeah, they saw that Husky start yesterday. They know what they got to do. We'll see these two crews. I like what we see. They're both close together. Very good high stroke rates. I'm going to try to check a quick rate check for the Huskies, about 47 strokes per minute there. New Zealand almost stroke for stroke. These two crews side by side. Really strong start for both of these crews. But we'll go through that New Zealand lineup really quick. Harry Malloy, Flynn Watson, your stroke man, Oliver Welch. Josh Vononovich is the 6th man. Zach Rumble, Ben Taylor, Campbell Crouch in the 3 seat, 2 seats, Cody Johnson, and bowman Henry Kirk, led by Coach Mike Roger. Good push by Washington when they set the pace there, when they hit that shift stroke, that settle stroke, Mary. That's a big stroke of the race, really powerful for Washington.
So first 500 meters is done, and so this second 500 meters, now they have to just let the boat go. They have to trust. I mean, it's raw power because you don't want to get ditched because it's just one other boat you're racing, but now is the time to own your rhythm because now it's time to get to work. It's middle 1,000, and it seems like the Huskies just need to relax just a little bit because they're in the lead. Just own it, just a touch more, and then they'll get 2 more seats.
Yeah, but this New Zealand crew has the power and certainly has the capacity technically to keep up with Washington. We'll see. So last week Washington trailed California early on. California hit that spot where you thought, oh, California could end this race. Washington with a fantastic response and move back in. There's your Husky lineup for you. Nick Dunlap is the coxswain. Ryan Smith in the stroke seat. Harry Fitzpatrick, Giuseppe Bellomo in the 6th seat. Sam Ford, Logan Ulrich, Jonathan Wagnorad in the 3 seat. Ben Short and Blake Vogel in the bow for the Huskies. Really strong move there in that second 500 meter for the dogs.
For a while, I thought that the New Zealander boat, the boat on the left, was going to hold and maintain the speed of the Huskies, but the Huskies are just sneaky. They are just taking inches per drive. So New Zealand, they're in a very vulnerable situation right now, but we've seen it before. They've got the engine. They might not be as race prepped as the Huskies in terms of their season and their development, but the New Zealanders are in striking distance. The Huskies just have to still be brave, and we know they have closing speed.
They have closing speed, certainly. We saw one of the greatest demonstrations of closing speed that you've ever seen on the Montlake Cut came from these young men just last week when they rode through Cal in the final 200 meters of the race course. But there's the Kiwis in the Grand Challenger, the 1977 crew that went over and won at Henley. Really strong rhythm. I think if you're one of these young rowers that's raced earlier in the day and you get to watch this, watch the catch speed, watch the angle that these guys attack each stroke with. Great rowing from both of these crews. The Huskies, Nick Dunlop, your senior coxswain, urging. He's at that bow ball. He wants to stretch out to that next little step and see what the Huskies can do here. They know they have to have speed here for these final 2 races of the season when they hit the conference championship and the national championships.
So if I was in New Zealand, the next 10 strokes are going to be very pivotal. They're going to have to do something extra. They're going to have to go now just to maybe break momentum, maybe shake the Huskies. But at this point, I don't want to say the Huskies are on autopilot, but they know exactly where they are and they know what they have in the tank.
Yeah, Harry Malloy's going to have to really urge his guys on. They are not getting dropped by the Huskies. The Huskies are going to have to make that next shift up. We got those 3 Kiwis for the Huskies, Harry Fitzpatrick, Logan Ulrich, your Olympic silver medalist for New Zealand, and Ben Short. Those guys, one thing Logan spoke about a little bit this week was just he wants to have a little bit to hold over his countrymen come the World Cup season this summer. And as they are going, they are separating out from him just a little bit. Look at the great swing from both these crews. The Huskies there with the white tanks and New Zealand in the red. Both crews really powerful through the finish line now.
I like how there's a great shot right here from Nick Dunlap, the coxswain, and he is just holding that line. He is holding the middle, which has been unshakable, and I like how tall the Huskies are just sitting up, because now it's just to be super efficient, super horizontal. The Kiwis are coming back just a little bit, but the Huskies are in a very, very dominant position.
Good push in this final 500 meters for the Kiwis. We'll see. It's not going to be quite enough to catch Washington on the day. A little peek around from the 3-man to see where that finish line is. Coming away with the Windermere Cup. There's Washington with the win over New Zealand. A good race, solid race for those 2 teams.
You know, when the coach shoves this team out on the water, the coxswain is in charge.
Yep, and so Izzy's got some pressure on her today, but doing a great job for the Huskies there as a freshman coxswain there. Megan Lee and Sally Jones, your stroke seats. We've got to start. Expect to see some good racing here. See if the Huskies, they've taken seats already early on. A ton of power coming from that Husky crew.
Yes, the last couple of weeks they have been working on their front end speed. This is the second race for Izzy Michelson in the Varsity 8, the coxswain, the freshman coxswain. Last week at Cal, that was her first debut, and she just took the reins and she is charging hard and telling her crew how many strokes to keep high, meaning high strokes around 48, which is crazy, adrenaline fueled. And then they'll take a middle shift, so something around 40-42 until they make their stride, which is probably a goal of about 36-37. But today's adrenaline, it could be as high as 38. And then it's their job is to calm, let the boat go. But yeah, left hand on your screen, it is the Huskies out of lane 1. Middle of the screen is Indiana. And the right-hand side in lane number 3 is New Zealand.
So we've got a pretty strong race here. Huskies separating out just a little bit, but Indiana ahead of New Zealand. Coach Peterson's got to be pretty psyched seeing that, but he's got his 3 Kiwis on board there. The 7-seat, 6-seat, and 2-seat Kiwis. Nico Daly, Madison Shanks, and Laura McCabe there are the Kiwis for the crew from Indiana. They'll see if they can take on their country mates. Annabelle Ortel is your stroke seat. The transfer from Cal, from Berlin, is doing a great job there for the Hoosiers. Phoebe Inall, Abby Armstrong, Lily Murphy, and Grace Sappington from Sammamish. Rode at Sammamish, is a graduate student there in biotechnology from for the team from Indiana, 5th-year racer. She was the one that talked to her teammates about be prepared for anything at the Windermere Cup. So good to see a local connection there in that Indiana varsity boat.
So this is now the second 500 of that race course. The Huskies are increasing their lead. The last time the Huskies raced Indiana, it was about an 8-second difference. And so I know Indiana, they came here and their goal was to close the gap. And so this is going to be a great race between New Zealand and Indiana because both crews are going to use each other to see if they can reel in the Huskies.
Yeah, 3-boat racing does change the mentality from the 2-boat race like we saw in the men's side. You got, when you're that second place crew, you're maybe trailing that leader, you've got someone else to work off of, kind of an asset to really putting down maybe a little bit faster time. We've got just a little puff of tailwind, but great conditions here on the Montlake Cut race course. Washington open water up ahead of New Zealand now in second. New Zealand's made a strong move in the second 500 to take that solid second place position from Indiana. Indiana seeing what they can put together in the middle 1,000 now.
Yeah, Indiana went out hard because I think they had that mentality of like, let's close the gap. But now you can see the different rates of striking, the stroke rate. Indiana just kind of, I mean, they don't have a couple beats lower, but just the attack and the quickness of the drive, it's just they took a breath, so to speak, yep. And New Zealand didn't. So now that was a huge slingshot. I think Indiana slowed down. The Kiwis did not, and now they're trying to make sure that that open water does not increase between them and the Huskies.
Well, we talked about that experienced racers for New Zealand. Elena Sherman, that stroke seat that's raced at the Olympic level. Isla Blake in behind her. Ella Kossel, your Husky alum, backing them up. Rebecca Lee, Isabel Melville, a future Husky in 4-seat. Hannah Mata here in 3. Juliette Leque in 2, and Sophie Agnott Johnson there in the bow for New Zealand. But there's the Huskies in the Title IX legacy shell, really running away now, looking very strong here for Washington.
So I was talking with the coxswain, Izzy Michelson of UW, and I was saying, okay, if you want more seats, how and when are you going to unify your team? How are you going to offer them a solution? So I'm curious to see if they've just been kind of sitting that 1 to 2 seats of open water over the Kiwis. How are you going to break out more? Because, I mean, sometimes it's like, how dare you think you're just going to walk away from the Kiwis? What are you going to do to unite your power? So 8 individual impulses really unite into one. And that's going to be their secret of if they're going to increase this of the distance between the Kiwis, can they make sure that they just stay united in the water and stay united with that push?
Yep, and the Huskies about 37 strokes per minute here into the final 500 meters here. Washington really, really strong. I like what you see with the sharp technical blade work coming from the Huskies. Megan Lee and Sally Jones, your stroke pair. Mary Lou Duvernay Tardif, the 6th seat. Aisha Rocek, your Italian 5-seat. Zola Kemp, Killian Mullen, Chloe Shepard, and Sophie Houston holding down the bow for the Dogs. Really strong aggressiveness through the finish line here for the Washington women.
Yeah, they need to sit up a little taller at that catch. They're kind of getting a little bouncy with that water, but they just they're still in the lead. I'm being picky. They're still winning, but you just see Izzy just being a little bit too excited, banging the sides. Sometimes coxswains think they have to do that because it's going to be so loud, but Just turn the volume up. Turn
Crank
the volume up to an 11.
There we go. So here's Izzy and the Huskies really running away from New Zealand now. New Zealand in a solid position ahead of that crew from Indiana. So Washington on the open water lead, a couple of seats open here ahead of New Zealand. Washington really strong here. Last 100 meters here for Washington in the Women's Windermere Cup.
They are definitely finding their how and their why, creating their boat identity, and that's what's going to give them another gear as they go into their regional championships. And ultimately, the ultimate prize after the Windermere Cup is the NCAA Championships.
And there it is, Washington walking away with the Windermere Cup for both the men and the women over Team New Zealand. Indiana coming in third for the Windermere Cup for the women. So great racing all around. What a fantastic day it's been on the water here on a chillier than we'd like opening day, but still fantastic to have so many fans, so many supporters out here for Husky Crew. It's just fantastic to see such good racing all the way from the Masters races to start things off all the way through the Windermere Cups.
And unofficially checking out the time of 6:09.9. That's not slow.
No, that's pretty quick here. I think the Huskies really are dialing it in for the championship portion of the season, which is just a couple weeks away for Washington. For both the men and the women. We expect to see great things at the IRA for the men there in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and the women just up the road there in New Jersey at Mercer Lake, just outside of Princeton. Should be some spectacular racing at those two championships.
And here is the spectacle that is about to be stage 2 of the spectacle is as the boats are turning around. The Get Back coach is doing a fine job of threatening all the crews not to leave until everybody is safe. But here is Team New Zealand of the men's boat of New Zealand starting the boat parade. Now all crews are told to row through the cut all the way up to the top of the start. Through the yachts, through the log boom, and then the next race is to get to the dock.
Yeah,